Thomas, Happy New Year to you and welcome
Thank you.
back to Face. How are
Thank
you?
you. I'm
How
I'm
are you?
fine, thank you. I'm
Good.
actually in Helsinki now. I was
You're
in the
what?
US for a while, but now I'm in Helsinki for I don't know, maybe 2 months, and then
Okay.
board.
Well, were you on vacation here or business?
80% business, 20 vacation. About I came
Okay.
to check some places where I would like to stay next, and Nashville is the winner.
Oh, my sister lives there. You
Yeah,
like it there?
yeah,
Okay.
I really liked it.
You like
Everything for a single man, there seems to be everything.
All right, now I know what you're talking about. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. No need to say no more.
All right, yeah,
Yeah.
now we're on the same page. So,
Yep.
what's on your radar for 2024? I know we're almost a whole month into it, but do you have a narrative that is something that you're keeping an eye on,
Well, we
or
are we,
trigger
we are
points?
but there are two basically what we are looking very closely. First is naturally the geopolitical situation,
Yeah,
like the situation in Europe. Because I don't know, people in the US probably do not know it, but in Finland and Sweden there is such warmongering going on with our politicians that I haven't heard such in my life. Like, I'm 47. I've remembered political issues from over 30 back over 30 years,
yeah,
and it's really crazy.
yeah. I
And
read
so,
about Sweden saying that they're not prepared and that the population has to get prepared for sacrifice and
yeah,
war, and it's like psyops going on.
yeah, it is. It
Uh,
is because it makes absolutely no sense. Like, Finns and Russians, we don't have no issue. We haven't had any issues for decades. No
yeah,
problems, nothing. This is purely a political thing. So
okay,
it's rather worrisome in that respect. And then there's the situation in the Middle East, naturally.
okay. And how about financial markets? Everyone basically says, uh, don't buy the euro.
Yeah.
Germany is failing and weak, and European, the dollar is a much better fiat to be in
Mm.
compared to the euro. It's a little different in the British pound. Um, is there
Well,
anything you're seeing on the financial side in Europe that could be a black swan, like a problem with the bond markets over there or something like that?
yeah, well, basically, the ECB has launched a program. I forgot its name, but uh, they are keeping the bonds of the spread of the yields from breaking out. So basically, they buy in Italy now. But one thing people should understand about Europe is that the recovery fund will run dry this year. I think probably during the first half. And then the recession in Europe will truly start because it has pumped like several hundred billions of euros into Italy, Spain, Portugal, those
Okay.
countries. It
Okay.
has
So
kept the European economy afloat. So I wouldn't, like I have been saying basically
the
all along,
pigs.
I would
We
not trust.
I haven't heard about the pigs in years, but that's where the weakness still is, isn't it?
Breaks, you mean?
Pigs, Portugal,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Italy,
pigs. Yeah, yeah,
Greece,
yeah.
Spain.
It's
Yeah.
still there. I think Greece is doing fine, but Italy and Spain, they're not. The economic number are just horrible. They could be much worse. But Germany is sinking, France is sinking, Italy and Spain are only, they are on this life support from the recovery fund. And when that runs out, the recession will truly start, and the fate of the euro will come to question at that point once again. So I would not trust the euro. So there's this constant risk of something cataclysmic happening. I'm not thinking they probably won't let it break the eurozone at this point, at least. But still, it's I don't think the economic weakness that the euro could escape it. And I think because of the economic weakness, the ECB has probably they have to start cutting rates basically, even though the inflation may actually go up from here again. So
Okay.
That's the
Are
thing.
you
And the one comment about the Fed thing is
okay?
that I would listen very carefully what they say. Or was it Wednesday or Thursday? When was the
Wednesday,
pressure? Yeah, Wednesday
Wednesday.
pressure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would listen very carefully what Powell says, because I will show you some graphs shortly.
Oh,
But
sure.
yeah, for example, inflation
Go ahead.
expectations have not skyrocketed, but there's a definite peak in them already. The University of Michigan survey of consumers inflation expectations, and
You could
never.
show these now.
Yeah, I will show this shortly, but
Oh,
never
okay.
in the history of the series from 78 has the inflation rate failed to, or the inflation rate has not failed to follow. So
Okay.
they are forecasting a something like a inflation over 4% again in just in matter of 2 months maybe. And
Wow.
if that comes to be, every hope of Fed cutting rates will go out of the window, basically.
So that would be the big surprise with everyone looking for the
Yeah.
pivot, not just a pause, but
Yep.
actually, looking for rate cuts by March. And we have the Fed this week that he might sound. I mean, he's got plenty of latitude to sound hawkish with the market at all-time highs, right? I mean, we're not there. The financial system, or at least the equity markets, have no fear right now.
Yeah, they don't, and it's crazy, but it's how they have been like grown. The equity markets have gotten used to that they will be bailed out every single time. So I think that's just complacency, which has been, grown into the investors or the psyche of the equity market, I would say.
Okay,
But there's
were you
yeah,
going to show? Go ahead.
yeah. You see this? The sinking
Yes.
feeling? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, got it.
And this is one of the things that is really interesting now. This is the bank term funding program.
Okay, that's when SVB failed and they put in this facility, right?
Yes, they put it on
Okay,
March 11th. And if you look
right.
at this, it does not look really good at the moment. You see this acceleration here. This
Yeah,
implies that the bank run, the silent bank run, has accelerated again in some US banks. So this is
that's
a
why they
forex,
haven't. That it's an emergency program,
basically.
and that's why they haven't terminated it
Yeah.
yet. But they may do that in March, from
Yeah,
what some
so
of
they
my.
say. I do not
Yeah.
believe it. I do not
Okay.
believe it, because if they would, there would be, I think the bank failures would start right away. This
Okay.
is not like, this is not as, it's not as steep as this, but this is still a notable rise. And it was like very stable for long, and then suddenly in December it started to head, up again.
Yeah, they need liquidity, and the charts don't look terrible either on the regional banks. They could. They've recovered pretty good. I think they have earnings. Do
But
you
the
think
thing is
there's
that
any? Go ahead.
you really cannot, banks, they are opaque institutions. If there's a run, you really cannot see it before it
Right.
becomes really visible. So
Right.
this tells something, that someone is in trouble, or some banks. That's the only kind of implication or conclusion you can draw from this.
Okay.
Only.
All right.
And the other thing is that there is the growth of loans and leases in US banks. This is the FDIC data. And if you look at where we are now, this here, this is a level. The banks, the loan lending is still growing, but at very low levels. And when previously, when this has been the case, the US economy has already been in a recession.
All right.
So
Yes. So
yeah, so
credit.
that, yeah, and I think this is the one of the most important things. Like, the U.S. economy grew by 329 billion in the last quarter, but at the same time, the federal deficit grew by 510 billion. So you can argue that without this massive increase in deficit, the U.S. economy would not have grown, or at least it would have grown very little.
So it's really nominal growth with the stimulus.
Yeah, massive stimulus. So this is record-breaking stuff, and it's completely unsustainable. They are projecting that at the current rate, the US annual interest payments will top 3 trillion in 2030. 3 trillion. Think about it.
Yeah.
So this cannot last. So it's my thinking that they will, because it's election year, they will try to keep this level of stimulus going. But if Trump wins in November, they will just cut it right away and crash the economy if it has not happened before.
Interesting. And why would they do it under Trump? Because he's not for the move to CBDCs?
For yeah, that, and because it's political rivalry, so
Okay.
they just want to kill it. But what is rather interesting, more interesting, is if you look at the commercial and industrial loans U.S. banks are giving, they are actually declining. So the amount of loans going into corporate sector is dropping at the moment. And
Okay.
this has never happened outside recessions previously. And
All
if we
right.
look at the overall growth of non-financial corporate debt, it's at the recessionary levels also, albeit it's growing. So US corporations are taking debt from the capital markets, but still at the very low levels.
Why
So
are credit spreads blowing out on this at all? They're still
that
so tight.
I think there is just so much money there, and then the complacency. So investors still have a lot of money,
Yeah, they do.
extra money, and the complacency. Everybody thinks that this will be fixed, and I'm starting to think also that we know that China manipulates the equity markets by buying. You know, the government is buying, or it's different. How hidden
Well,
branches are buying. Yeah, I'm starting to think that what if the same happens in the U.S. in through some mechanism? I don't know,
don't you
but
think that their buying power would be required more in the debt markets than in the equity markets?
probably yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
So, but this is,
I
yeah, but the conclusion is that the U.S. corporate sector, the lending to U.S. corporate sector signals that the sector is already in a recession. So the private sector, private corporate sector is in recession. That's my conclusion.
okay.
And the
Um,
massive federal deficit and people spending it's just artificially keeping the U.S. economy afloat.
all right. I found someone more bearish than you.
Okay, well, okay, that was a good.
I want you to check it out and get back to me and let me know what you think. It's called The Great Taking.
The great
Forex
take. Oh
Gal
yeah, yeah, I heard
for
about it.
yeah, Forex Gal in our community sends me all kinds of things to make me nervous every day. So anyway, yeah, check that out and let me know. It almost seems like it makes you feel like what's the point? But it's
Yeah,
basically crashing the financial system with, saying it was a cyber attack or something. They already have everything planned.
yeah,
But
that's what they say, and we cannot just outright deny the possibility of that. We just cannot. It's possible that
yeah,
such a scheme has been devised, and
yeah,
the central bank digital currencies would be, yeah, they would
that's
something
how
like
they
that is
usher it
required.
in.
Yeah, something like that is required to
Right.
get people to accept the CBDCs. Something like that,
Well,
something horrible, because otherwise, I don't think the U.S. populace will
yeah.
accept. So,
No,
but anyway,
there'd have to be a lot of fear.
there has to be,
Do you?
I talked with one of my friends who is, well, he's a senior central banker now here in Europe, and just 2 months ago, and he said to me that a month ago, he said to me that there's no, he doesn't understand the CBDC. No one does in the actual, the central banking economist community. And he told me basically that the people who are now in the board of ECB, the actual central bank economists, they privately they say that the central bank digital currency does not make any sense, but publicly they support it. And then just there's massive political influence now coming from somewhere to central banks because they are
Yeah.
living like they have like two narratives now. The one they present to themselves and are the economists, and then there's the public one. It's a batshit crazy
Yeah.
thing, really.
Yeah. It sounds like politics here in the US too, you know.
Yeah,
People will support and someone but really maybe months ago did not support. So
yeah,
uh anyway, the CPI,
yeah.
do you
So yeah,
expect, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. The pace of inflation accelerated 3.4% in December, and it was the fastest pace of the analyzed growth since May. But if we go to the inflation expectations, it's the blue line here, and you see a notable spike there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you look at the series, if there has been a spike, the CPA growth rate or the pace of growth has always accelerated, and that's
Okay.
what's expected. And the disruptions in global trade in the Middle East are now becoming very noticeable. Like container shipping rates are spiking, fuel tanker rates have tripled since
Yeah.
beginning of the year, while all tanker rates have been spiking since October.
Let me
So
ask you this about these rates. I was thinking
mhm,
about this. Do the shipping rates offset any of the good part of oil prices being fairly tame,
probably,
especially in the face of what's going
probably,
on?
yeah. This is not my or our specialty, but that's probably how it is.
Okay, so I mean, so then if oil prices ever went up at the same time shipping rates were going up, that would really be a problem.
Yeah, and now it's happening both.
Okay, yeah, we've
Uh,
seen a little, yeah, we're at $79 right now.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it has like reversed. I just look at the time series. It has reversed the decline, even though at least the OPEC says and that the demand is lacking.
Yeah.
But the really big thing now is that what they're gonna do with Iran now that the U.S. soldiers died. I don't think they will do anything. Biden administration will not take any
They
drastic.
don't want the war. Yeah, they don't want the war.
It would like Iran holds all the cards there. Like
Yeah,
if they would close the Strait of Hormuz, then it just would be game over for the global economy. Like
yeah.
it's so important for the energy market. And there's one interesting thing here mentioned in the bottom here is that Qatar canceled one LNG tanker to Italy because they would be forced to go around the Cape of Good Hope,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it would make the uh, the shipment uneconomical. So it's not you cannot you cannot economically deliver LNG through the Cape of Good Hope to Europe,
Well,
and that's that.
are they going to turn to the US, which Biden recently put a pause on new
I don't know.
projects for natural gas?
I don't know. I don't know. But this, if the war escalates in the Middle East, this will come and become a major headache for Europe. If not this winter, then the next.
Well, last winter Europe was going to freeze and starve. How's it going this winter?
Well, last winter we were saved
Right,
because
by the
ex
weather.
yeah,
Right.
extremely mild weather. Now it's been quite the opposite. I don't know actually what's going in Central Europe, but what I hear that there are like these warnings, electricity warnings. We actually had
Blackout.
grid warning in Finland too, which was
Okay.
first time in my life I heard there was such. It's the first stage where the FinGrid, which controls the grid, asks corporations to voluntarily
Yeah,
limit
reduce.
electricity consumption. And this
Yeah.
was done. There was no public discussion about this. I just heard from one of the big landlords in central Helsinki that this was what was asked. So we had a first grid emergency for, I don't know, since the war, so for a very long time.
Wow, that's something. And you know, these data centers that they need for AI and everything, they're like you know, quarter mile or a mile of buildings.
Yeah,
They sure require a lot of juice.
yeah, they
Many,
require, and
many megawatts. Yeah.
yeah, a lot. Yeah, and I don't know how they're gonna supply them because
Along
it's
with
a,
the
yeah. Yeah,
EVs
they
too. So
well, yeah, that's also one crazy idea that they would use them to balance the grid, which is just nuts. No, it's just I don't. It's been like in Europe and I think in the US too. You know, Finland had a lot of like emergency power, electric,
yeah.
electricity factories, all, and they have all basically been destroyed during the past 20 years. It's crazy. Like the reserve power stations have been deliberately destroyed, like destroyed completely with the explosives. It's nuts.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
same in Germany. So I don't really get
It's like they're trying to drive an energy crisis
yeah,
to
it's
get
it's
us
not, yeah.
off carbon.
I don't know.
I don't know. Huh.
I don't know.
What are your conclusions? Hide under the bed?
No, I
That's
think
the
we I,
the
I think
next.
we I think we just have to fight back because it's people just need to understand how bad the situation is that we can start correcting that. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, yeah. So, but going somewhere like off the grid is not a bad idea. But I think we have to try to turn this ship around. Which I mean, the ship is the Western world, basically.
Yeah. So we need lawyers to change some of the laws that they slipped in. Number one, like making what we think is our property really our property, like our
Oh.
deposits in
Mm.
banks are not ours.
Yeah, so it seems like for a period of 3 years, some of our most or the wealthiest customers have been telling me that they have problems of getting their money out from Nordic banks,
Wow.
Finnish banks. That's something. It's
Yeah.
worse in what I hear in France and Germany, but it's not
Hmm.
like the banks. They just hold our money. That's it. That's what they should do. Of course, they don't they cannot. Well, it's a fractional reserve banking, so they don't have all the money there. But it's like a contractual guarantee that we give them the money and they agree to give it back. And now it looks that the money is not ours anymore, which is crazy.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So anyway, this is what we have to deal with, and
Mm,
anyway, you know, I want to wrap it with this.
mm,
Remember all the derivatives from the great financial crisis?
yep,
Okay, they were never, you know, they were just all taken off the books. I mean, those losses never went away. I've
yep.
heard that they're all pooled and
Okay.
that, you know, that they are being supported by the Fed. And
Oh,
eventually, those derivatives that everyone thinks just went away are going to have to be paid off. And that's when they need um,
you know,
the money from depositors to
you
do it.
know, we heard from several central bankers that in Europe they just discontinued the mark to market,
Yeah,
and they are just rotting in the balance sheets of European banks. And
yeah,
Credit Suisse was probably one of the casualties of that. But you have to, at some point, you have to write them down.
right.
So yeah, and when
Okay.
it may come at the worst possible time,
Yeah,
like
it's
in
like,
the US and in Europe,
yeah, Europe probably first, I'm thinking, then Asia, then
probably.
the US. It's like there's a time bomb out there from 2008.
Yeah, there is because we didn't fix the issues then.
And
We
no one
didn't fix
even
the bank
talks about it anymore. Who talks about derivative risk anymore?
for one for some reason. That's a good point.
All right, so basically, don't wait to buy gold and wait. But are
Yep.
you a little disappointed that we tried to break out and so far it wasn't successful in
So I don't
gold?
know. Yeah, it's the gold manipulation is becoming rather obvious.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we don't. The problem in investing now that you don't know what markets are manipulated and how much.
How
That's the
about all
biggest.
of them?
Probably, yeah, but they don't, I don't think they have money to control everything. They just make these probably surgical strikes. But
Okay.
that's the one thing I think people need to really think of in investing, that so many sectors are supported by either just money from the federal system, or then some political ideology which may change, and then the whole sector can crash.
Okay. How do our viewers get your newsletter, Thomas?
Just Google me, Tuomas Malinen forecasting newsletter. It's there. You can find it easily.
Okay, so include Thomas in your intelligence gathering. He's your boots on the ground in Europe
Mm.
until he buys a pair of cowboy boots and moves to Nashville.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Anyway, anyway, my friend, thank you so much. And I want to thank
Thank you.
you for over all this time. We've been talking for years now
Yeah.
of you coming here and sharing your ideas with our community and edifying them with your views. So it's appreciated.
Nice to be here. Always nice talking to you.
All right, Thomas Mellinen, everyone at MT Mellinen on X.
Yeah.
And I'll get a hold of you and we'll talk in the spring if we're still around. All right, buddy.
Yeah. Will do. Will do.
All right. So that's a wrap, everyone. I could join the team in 16 minutes on the Morning Edge. Thank you, Thomas. People enjoyed it. And I'll see you tomorrow for Turnaround Tuesday. Let's have a good week while we can. Anyway, I'll see everyone tomorrow. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Adios.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.